Hello again from Liverpool.
Hi.
And we've had a long day again today, but not quite as long as yesterday. And please do admire my sticker that I've picked up today. We thought we'd just tell you about the ballot that was taken to choose the main subjects for motions at conference. So what happened was there were 17 subject areas selected by the conference arrangements committee, and Evelyn and I agreed on which ones to vote for, and we had to go in and vote for them on the first day. And the ones we chose Brexit because that's what our motion was about. We chose health and social care because we quite like the look of the motion and it seems to us very important. We chose the NHS mostly on the grounds that it was the motion we sent through last year, so we wanted to reinforce last year's message. And we chose the school system because we really liked the look of the motion on the school system, and to some extent, as we'll tell you later, that's been borne out by events of the day that schools are very much at the forefront of new policy at the moment. So, top four issues that came out of that. There was the unions, the affiliates vote, and the CLP members vote, or CLP representatives vote. So there are two sets of four motions come out of that list of 17. So the top four issues in the CLP ballot, in fact, turned out to be housing, schools, justice for the Windrush generation, and Palestine, some of which are yet to happen, but some of which happened today. And the top four issues from affiliates were, which is unions to you and I, was Brexit, a thing called an economy for the many, government contracts, and in-work poverty, which is partly about benefits. Interestingly, you see, so we're going to debate Brexit tomorrow morning about 10:20, I think, is the Brexit debate, and because it's a union-sponsored motion, it's going to be proposed by a union. It's going to be proposed, I think, by the no, I think, it is the GMB that's, yes, I think you're right. The GMB are proposing it. So when we look at the wording of the motion as it's finally gone to print, we have to bear in mind that that's been largely conditioned by the fact that the unions are the sponsors of this motion. And I think if it had been the CLP sponsoring the motion, it would have read rather differently to the way it does. So anyway, 10:20 tomorrow morning, if you want to watch it live, should be the Brexit debate. I will be putting my hand up in the hope that I might get selected to speak. And I've been briefed, as it were, by some anti-Brexit campaigners within the Labour Party about the sort of things that might be said. And there's a group of 30 or 40 of us have been briefed in the same way. We shall all put our hands up throughout the debate in the hope that one or two of us get picked to go and stand on the stage. So I'm not holding my breath. But it's possible I might be on the platform tomorrow. And in fact, interestingly, or not interestingly, I appear briefly in Newsnight this evening. Well, my back appears briefly in Newsnight. Special prize for whoever figures out which part of the broadcast I featured in. Evelyn.
Yeah, well, that's great, Rick. Thank you. Yes, it's about 22 minutes into Newsnight. Anyway, that's just a clue. Yeah, it was a great day. Slightly less stressful for us in the sense that we didn't have to do a lot of rushing around. But fascinating. John McDonnell's speech was very exciting and had very good response, of course, as it would. In a way, I think I was a bit more impressed by Angela Rayner in the afternoon. You might well have seen her talking by the Parliament channel. That was amazing because of her amazingly radical policies. But, I mean, Rick might say more about that. I was really impressed by a great many of the delegates. Who are on stage speaking. They're trying to get as many people as possible from the floor to speak at this conference. And I think they're getting in 40 odd per session, I think.
Yeah, 40 odd per motion.
Per motion,
yeah.
Which is amazing. They all seem to flow quite seamlessly. Great range of opinion. You might well have seen some of this. Well worth catching up via YouTube or BBC iPlayer. But really, really dynamic young people too. There was a young 15-year-old, wasn't there, who spoke amazingly. He's well known on Twitter, I think. Hassan Patel, maybe.
Don't
But yeah,
ask me names.
no, he came over very well. But there's that great sense really of solidarity and great similarity of vision, really showing at conference for really solid socialist policies now. So yeah, that's really exciting.
Well, I think if conference as a whole were asked to select a high point of the day, they would definitely have said the John McDonnell speech. That got everybody up on their feet. Everybody was clapping and cheering and long-standing ovation and things. And to be fair, there were some really radical new economic policies announced in that speech, which were really quite exciting and certainly socialist, no doubt about that. For me, though, the high point of the day was very much the Angela Rayner speech, which we have tweeted about, and the full text, I think, is available on our Twitter stream. And essentially, it just gives everything that those of us involved in education have been asking for the last 20 years. So, new funded nursery provision, proper funding for FE provision, an end of academy schools, or an end of academisation anyway, and taking back some schools into local authority controls. So right across the board, the message on education is good. And incidentally to that, one of the things which wasn't in the policy statement from the Labour Party, but which which conference has sent back to the policy review board to reconsider, is whether or not to put in a policy to do away with grammar schools. Now that's quite interesting, and that's gone back for reconsideration by the party. So for me, that was the high point of the day, I think, in policy terms. But so much happening, so much going on. It's really hard to keep your finger on the pulse all the time. We were particularly impressed, I think, both of us this morning by the first speech of the day, in fact.
Carwyn Jones.
Yeah.
Carwyn Jones, yes.
Yeah.
Got a very good reception, Welsh Assembly leader for now, anyway.
He's about to retire, yes.
But I think people are really... obviously he represents a Labour government in Wales, which was really interesting to see how things are done differently in Wales, which I think we don't hear enough about, really, generally speaking, in England. But he came over in a really confident, fluent way, didn't he? Really getting over his ideas, and he seemed still very dedicated, and actually, mentioned working with Jeremy Corbyn. They seemed to be on good terms, which is nice to see. But yeah, I think
what we were most impressed by was, he came across as a genuine man, but I think the main thing was just he was so good at making speeches, and it knocked everybody else into a cocked hat. His delivery was so good, and I suppose it's traditionally so of Welsh politicians that they're really good at public speaking, but it was an object lesson in how to stand on a platform and hold an audience, and without any shouting, no barking, no kind of fist slamming on the table or any of that stuff, or hand waving. Just held the audience. Really, really impressive stuff. And of course, all this stuff is available if you want to see it, no doubt, on 24-hour news channels and things. But anyway, those were our impressions of the day, I think, weren't they?
It's well worth tuning to Carwyn, I think. It's a really good message there. Well, it was very gripping throughout the day, really. Yeah. And I think the delegates speaking sort of glues it all together. It's really good how they come in between policy making and so on. And
I went for a very nice cream tea. I had a cream tea for roll holders in CLP. So they invited us all to a cream tea. So I went with Lynn to the cream tea. Now tomorrow we might try and, if we're not too busy, we might try and take a bit of footage of the site, so that you get an idea of what it looks like around the conference, which we've not done before, and hopefully try and catch up with Lynn and see what she's got to say as well.
Absolutely. We met Nathan today, one of our members, didn't we?
We did.
Hello, Nathan, if you're watching. Jane King's there, so we didn't see her today.
We didn't see her today, but we saw her yesterday.
So there's a few of us scattered around. But we also meet, members and delegates from Newton Abbot. We saw, we quite often see the Newton Abbot people, don't we? But it's just all going up. But we unfortunately don't really get time to go to fringe events so far. No. But I hope to get to policy forum.
We're so instead of a late night session tomorrow, we're going to try and do an early morning session. So there are policy review meetings at 8:15 tomorrow morning. So we're both going to try and get to a different one of those. I think I'm going to try and go to the education one.
you should do.
Just to
I can't
follow.
remember what the other one is, but I'll go to the other one.
Perfect, whatever the other one is.
Yeah.
Evelyn's going to.
Yeah.
And then the day's business starts, I think, at 9:45 or something. And then, as I say,
Yeah.
10:20 is the Brexit debate. You won't recognise anything that we've agreed in what the motion currently looks like, and I think we've also tweeted a copy of the words that have gone into the motion. It looks like you'd expect a motion to look that was created by 200 people working on a committee at 11 o'clock at night. Really, it's a set of sentences which seem to bear no relation one to the next. So it's a bit of a dog's breakfast in terms of plain English campaign, I should say. But hopefully it moves us a little bit forward and at least affirms that some sort of final say, vote, referendum, call it what you like, is going to be Labour policy. So actually, it's incredibly unlikely that the motion won't be passed by conference. The interest lies in the debate and what can be brought out in terms of the spectrum of opinion within the party in the course of the debate, I think.
Yes, so exciting day ahead tomorrow, I think.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Speak tomorrow.
No.